The Italian heritage in motor racing has been strong since the beginning. So for iRacing to only have 2 Italian tracks for so long was almost criminal. They've been starting to rectify that recently, and the newest addition is Mugello. But will this traditionally motorcycle-oriented circuit suit this car? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch Round 10 of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and joining me in the booth is Roush Racing driver Joey Atterbury. Behind the scenes is our director, Daniel Costello, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. With F1 recently holding a race here, it's definitely garnered a lot more attention lately. Let's take a closer look at it with our track guide.
Welcome to Autodromo Internazionale del Mugello. Only an hour north of Florence and owned by motorsport royalty Ferrari, this is a popular Italian track. With a short layout consisting of 7 turns and the GP layout having 15, the full length runs about 3¼ miles, or 5¼ kilometers. It weaves through the Italian hills with pretty much nothing but long, sweeping corners. It makes for spectacular views for spectators and drivers, but difficulty in nailing overtakes. The main spot for that will be into the first corner of San Donato. From there, a climb up through a series of corners that switch back and forth eventually plunges down through Casanova and Savelli. This is where speeds pick up greatly, and the compression up through the first Arrabbiata brings you to the blind crest of the second. Things finally slow back down just a bit with 2 final hairpins at Corientaio and Buccini. Make sure you get the exit right on that last one. It's more than a kilometer run down the main straight. This track was built in 1973, but has seen continual improvements and has hosted the Italian Grand Prix for motorcycles for many decades. In recent times, it finally saw an official round of the Formula One Championship in 2020. With the virtual version now arriving on iRacing, fans from around the globe can experience this breathtaking romp around the Italian countryside.
I always love when we get to come to these newer tracks here, Joey, and this one's going to be fascinating with how fast this circuit is.
Well, not only how fast, but there's quite a bit of elevation at this Italian circuit here as we take a look. 15 turns, over 3 miles in length, but look at how long that front straightaway is. We are really going to see some top speed, and into turn 1, that is a monster brake zone. So if you're looking to set up a pass, definitely turn 1 is a great opportunity. And then you notice a lot of switchbacks. There's a lot of corners that look very, very similar on this track, from 2 to 3 to 4 to 5. And then you start going down the hill down there at Casanova down at turn 6. It's all the way downhill down to Arrabbiata 2, right? Turn 9. And then it is uphill all the way to the tallest part of the circuit. Another switchback there at turns 10 and 11. More switchbacks at 13 and 14, and then the final turn number 15 down there. It is a very, very long arcing left-hander that starts to fall away from you down the hill. It's tricky, but you got to get on the gas as soon as possible because that monster straightaway lays ahead.
Yeah, it's going to be so important. We'll see who's got the straight line speed on that one, considering there are so many fast sweeping corners around here. But the championship, as we mentioned, we are towards the end of the season here with round 10. So it's starting to come down to it. And Kimmo Viekainen, look at that, 137 points. And that is with drop weeks in his pocket. Kimmo has yet to finish off the podium this season. We're not exactly sure if he can wrap it up today, but it's getting very close at this stage. Antilopisto starting to become more and more of a threat to Juho, especially with his recent performances, including a win last time out. He is here today. We'll see what he can do, as Hugh Haycox has been quick, but just hasn't really been getting as good results as he'd like, but he's also been just kind of racking up points. And then Barry West has been hugely impressive this season. That 5th place is not a mistake. He has been qualifying and finishing inside the top 10 lately, in top split, mind you. But that is the F1 standings. We also have an F2 Drivers' Championship here, Joey.
Only separated by the drivers' iRating, the same exact cars. Thomas Silbernagel currently leads the way. A healthy gap, 53 points over Chris Roberts. Also, a nice gap between Chris and the next battle here, but 3 cars in this. Timothy Vanderburg, Miguel Moreland, Arnold Cook, they are all arguing over what is third place. And then we have another group of what is 3 drivers, Pablo Suarez, Robert Simpkins, Keith Herner, all trying to fight for what is 6th place in the championship. And then we also have Kurt Clapper, Cam Porter, series regulars inside of the top 10 as well.
Now, for today's race, we have 26 laps for the drivers, so they do get around here relatively quickly with it being such a long lap. It's just these fast corners really suit this car pretty well, it seems. Open setup in this series, but as we said, it's going to be that mix of trying to get the downforce through the turns, but also keeping yourself from being vulnerable along that main straightaway. No spare car if you wind up with some damage here, but they have a lot of paved runoff in places, and the walls are pretty far away, so hopefully we won't see too much of that. Drive-through penalty at 17 incidents and a DQ at 25 if you do abuse those track limits at this track. Qualifying is currently underway, and Antti Lepisto is currently on the provisional pole by about a quarter of a second over Kimmo Viekainen, but Antti is not as much in the championship hunt here. I don't think Kimmo is all that worried.
No, and I also see Hugh Haycox up inside the top 3. He's been one of these drivers that is extremely fast. We're going to see if he can put an entire race together, because right now he's sitting there with great track position. We're watching Kimmo Viekainen complete what is going to be his 2nd qualifying lap.
Juan Costa, I didn't realize that he was back. So he is here, and he's a multi-time champion in this series. He'll start from the pole if things stay as they are. Barry West in the top 9, a top 10 really, along with Sam Ryman behind him. Sam finishing his 2nd lap. Wondering what he can do is Kimmo Viekainen will complete this 2nd circuit at a 36.256 first time around, 35.7. That is going to keep him in 3rd. He gets closer to Lepisto, but does not improve to the front row.
This, I believe, here is Gernot Frische, one of the most solid drivers when it comes to any of these tracks in these Lotus 79 cars. All you got to do is look at that raw wins data. I mean, he pretty much trumps everybody, and this is the far end of the circuit here, trying to put the power down on one of these slower speed corners. Just has turns 13 and 14 right here to navigate through, and this is that final turn, Joe, that turn number 15. It's so long, and it is all the way downhill here.
Absolutely. Gernot has racked up many a championship over the seasons, but Juan Costa, who I mentioned, has 2 to his name, so he's going to be a serious threat out here. Gernot, on his 2nd lap, cuts it down to a 36.672, another one that goes quicker, but unable to improve his position. Daniel Gallus is one of the few drivers that has not set a time yet, and he is just coming around here on the 2nd one. It looks like he is going through Biondetti up to Bassina. So let's see what this 2nd lap will be if he actually manages to make this one count, as he goes very wide on entry, trying to open up the exit.
Trying to do whatever he can to get that maximum lap time. Daniel Gallus, let's see what this lap time will, in fact, end up being. And in fact, qualifying is just going to end, so I don't think that it actually counted for the number 14.
It did not. That is a real shame. He was so close, and that's it for Q. So Juan Costa will indeed start on the pole position for the top split. Antti Lepisto going to be beginning next to him, and Kimmo Viekainen starts in 3rd. Hugh Haycox, excellent qualifying up there in P4. Can he finally get that first win here in the 79s? Gernot Frische will start behind him on row 3 and 5th. Dylan Freckleton begins in 6th position, and Jack David Spickett will start in 7th. Then we've got Barry West in P8, Kostas Zafiris in 9th, and Ian Haycox, Hugh's father, starts from 10th.
Then we have Sam Ryman starting in 11th back here. Matthias Bergman in 12th. Patrick Samaran starting in 13th. Antonio Alvarez will be next to him in 14th. Cam Porter is going to be starting on row number 8 in 15th. Farron Grau lined up next to him. Keep an eye on that number 7 of Farron Grau. See what he does. And then Daniel Gallus was also not able to put down that lap time. Going to be starting in 17th.
Wonder how important it's going to be trying to get that that track position down into turn one, into San Donato here, considering once you get stuck behind these cars, it's going to be difficult to pass, most likely. 104 Fahrenheit on the track surface, so it's also going to be slippery, adding to the difficulty in trying to overtake today. So we'll see if that cools down at all, but in the meantime, it is going to be starting rather toasty as we watch from above here, seeing the cars grid up, just waiting for Viekainen, Zefiris, and Ryman to find their way out to the grid. And it looks like Sam's going to be the last of them to plop himself out there, and he will start from the grid. So all drivers are going to be beginning not from pit lane, but out on the starting grid. As the lights come up, we wait for the green flag. There it is. Green flag is out, and it is a pretty good start from Juan Mi Costa, who immediately covers off the inside behind them. It's a battle for fourth with Hugh Haycox and Gernot Frischa trying to size up that fourth spot into the first corner, side by side for second briefly, but it looks like Lepisto will hold on to it. A few cars going wide, but otherwise we're clean.
It is Hugh Haycox edging out over Gernot Frischa there for that fourth place position, so he holds it off, and now it's Jack David Spickett all over the back of Gernot, but really the top five pretty orderly through this first set of switchbacks. Everybody pointed the right way still.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of single file out here, except for right here, of course. Drivers going side by side for 14th place there, and Cam Porter's going to come out ahead in that number 15 car, sitting behind Alvarez just in front of him in the Renault livery. Round the outside, maybe from Farron Grau. No, up the inside from Cam Porter, who manages to sneak through on the first Arrabbiata.
Yeah, and that really leaves Alvarez out to dry. You see him getting passed by a whole bunch of cars here, but a nice move from that number 15 puts him up into 13th and keeps Farron Grau right behind him.
Almost already done with the first lap, so Alvarez going to have to regroup here. He gets shuffled all the way down to 16th. That was a horrible couple corners for him. Juan Mi Costa, in the meantime, is trying to pull away from Lepisto and has got himself about a second.
That's so important here in iRacing. That's right about where the draft reaches, but I'm looking, it's about 0.95 right now, so Antti Lepisto just getting barely a sniff of it, and now it is starting to close in. More problems for Antonio Alvarez.
It looks like the final corner there, he's going to get it going. Not sure if he had some help, but we check back in with Dylan Freckleton, who's been in a couple fights this last lap as well, up on the inside of Zefiris into San Donato, but he's going to be on the wrong side of it, and it switches back into Luco. He's going to still fight hard for it, keeps his nose into it, and he's going to bang wheels with Costa Zefiris. That eventually edges him backwards, and Dylan gets 8th.
Yeah, and you got to look out, because here's Barry West trying to kind of insert himself into the fight as well. You were talking about how great Barry's championship is, and here he is trying to get involved already.
Well, unfortunate to see that is going to push Costas backwards with things getting a little bit rough. Let's see what sent Alvarez down to last place. Yeah, he just lost it on his own, it looks like.
Well, and that section is downhill into that final corner. It is so tricky to manage by yourself, and especially after you've been kind of knocked off the racing line a little bit. I think Antonio was trying to catch up, and it all just kind of went wrong for him there. As we catch back in, this is Jack David Spickett currently chasing Gernot Frischa for 5th.
Gernot, I think, knew about the importance of that track position. You saw how hard he was fighting with Hugh for that P4. Couldn't quite sneak past him. Now he's on the back foot instead, hoping to keep Jack David Spickett from being able to get by. Let's see what it looks like down the front stretch between the pair of them in terms of straight line speed.
I always like watching JDS in the Pepsi machine. I feel like he brings alternative setups, whether that's low downforce or high downforce, but I'm looking at the top speeds right now, pretty identical, and he's following Gernot Frischa, so I wonder if he's either running an identical wing setup as Gernot, or actually maybe a little bit higher downforce. We're about to see through the twisty bits.
Yeah, this could make the difference here, and he definitely looks like he is closing up on Gernot. Looks like the car is quite strong now, and as they come into braking, there's a defensive move from Gernot into Matarasi. So he feels under threat at this stage. Thankfully, it's very tough to pass at this portion.
Totally. There's not really a whole lot of big brake zones to throw the car up inside here, but this is the lowest part of the circuit. From here on out, it is uphill. Look at double apex right-hander, and then you finally come to the crest at the exit of this corner right here, but it sets you up for another one of these switchbacks. They're never ending on this track.
They really are. It's so much back and forth. You have to have a very good handling machine. Just behind them, check this out, between Ian Haycox and Dylan Freckleton. Dylan has disposed of Zephyrus and now is already setting his sights on the number 10 machine as they come down through Corientao there, but he's not quite close enough to try anything coming off of that corner. What about out of the final turn onto the main straight? Like we said, this is so important, and he is absolutely trying to open up this corner, but maybe a bit too much.
Yeah, I agree with you, but it's all going to come down to that wing setting right now. He actually got a tremendous run. I already see him about 2 miles an hour faster than Ian Haycox. But what kind of trim setting does that green number 10 have? And it looks like he's holding Freckleton out just a little bit, so Dylan's going to have to be better, or is he going to really send it into turn 1? Freckleton may be getting the elbows out early. I noticed he's down 2. He feels like he should be up 2 instead.
Yeah, Ian's going to have to keep an eye on those mirrors, clearly, because Dylan is ready to go today. Meanwhile, this is Kimo Viekainen, our current points leader, who, as I mentioned earlier, is yet to finish off the podium. Well, he's on the podium here today, once again, sitting in third, but he's about a second and a half almost behind Antti Lepisto, so it's not really tight at the front.
And I gotta wonder if that's kind of what we're gonna see. I know that these cars, they want the top end speed down that straightaway, but throughout the rest of the track, you really have to have the stability on what I call these switchbacks. It's the change of direction, and you need the grip, you need the aero level there. So I wonder if that's kind of what we're gonna see, is it's tough to catch some of these fast guys.
Matthias Bergman chasing on Cam Porter. This is for 13th position out here. And coming down to the last few corners, like you said, it's quite a bit downhill through this portion. So much elevation change. In fact, you'll see stands there on the left that look like they're about even with the track. Those are the stands that are way up at the top seats on the front straightaway. So that's how much you're dropping here just in this final turn.
Yeah, and it's a little bit of a flattened section before you get turned into that final turn, but you see coming down and you finally hit that compression, and ooh, here we go. Freckleton right on the back of Haycox this time. You saw how deep he took it into turn 1 this last time. He's looking driver's left the long way around. Can he make it stick? It's a very long corner. It's going to put him in the nice position for the next set.
Impressive. Freckleton's going to take it away, but he's off the racing line there a little bit. Might have to play some defense. No, looks like Ian can't get his foot down well enough. So as they now switch back and forth, once again, Freckleton has sealed the deal and moved himself into 7th. But that long fight means he's now going to catch up by 4 seconds to JDS, who is on the back of this, I believe. Yes, that is the fight for 4th. Hugh Haycox, Freesia, and Spickett.
And I think maybe Hugh Haycox, the lead car in this train, might have had a problem that last lap, because I'm seeing a 138.6. So either he got some damage or something happened that brought Gernot and JDS right back up to the rear wing, but this is now a 3-car fight.
All right, so this should be fun here, because each of these drivers certainly puts on a show, and each kind of in different ways. Hugh Haycox, very strong, used to leading up at the front a lot of the time, but when it gets him back into the crowd, well, then things get kind of fun with him. But Freesia is a very cool, calm, collected driver. And then you get to Jack David Spickett, who loves a fight and will definitely put on the aggression if he has to. As they come down towards turn 1, Gernot has got a good run, and he is trimmed out. Look at how fast this car is.
Yeah, I'm seeing about 6 miles an hour faster at the peak there, kind of stalled out, and here comes Haycox back on the inside. Can Gernot hang around the outside like we saw Freckleton? No, Haycox puts the power down. He is going to defend that position. Nicely done.
Thought for sure he'd be able to finish that one up, but it does look like that car is good in a straight line, but maybe a bit slower in the corners. This means he's going to struggle through this part if that's true, because Jack is already on the back of him in that Pepsi machine.
Yeah, but it's all kind of in the setup. Just because you've got the wing trimmed out doesn't mean that you can't have good mechanical grip. it all depends on that magic setup and what suspension settings you've got underneath you. And really, I look at Gernot's car, it looks very, very stable. I wonder if Hugh Haycock's clobbered a curb somewhere, because it seems like he's actually down quite a bit on straight line speed.
Oh, you bring up an excellent point. They have the new 3D curbs as he's just hit one of the sausage curbs, and he's going to go off. Jack David Spickett says, thank you, that's a 2-for-1 deal for me. And a big checkup for Gernot to try and stay out of trouble.
That was an awesome move from Jack David Spickett. Joe, you were teeing it up just a few corners ago. He loves to fight no matter what. He took the opportunity, capitalized on it, and got both of them.
Just snuck through, and he gets 4th place. Poor Gernot could do nothing but try and slam the brakes. We saw it all live from on board as that car went sideways directly in front of him. Meanwhile, we're back with Bergman once again, who is still chasing on Cam Porter. But Daniel Gallus is now joining. Remember, he failed to set a qualifying time. He might be out of position.
I know that this is a battle and it's a few seconds up the road, but do you see that train of cars? I know it's about 1 second, so it doesn't necessarily light up the timing board, but here comes Bergman taking a poke down the inside of Cam Porter here. But I was just noticing how close the field really still is.
Yeah, you make a good point. Top, 15 out of the 16 that are still running are about 23 seconds apart. And honestly, I think the biggest gap is going from that 4th to 3rd that we're watching. And here we see Barry West in one of the bigger trains, stuck in 10th position right now, just behind Hugh Haycock, who's got himself going after that spin.
And it's got to be a tough position for a driver to be in when you're in one of these trains. Like this fight right here between these three, you're in the fight, you feel like you can actually make a move, but those other drivers that are about 3/4 of a second to a second back, it's so hard to break that bubble of dirty air and get to this point that we see on the screen right here, able to make a move.
Gotta say, I do like the livery on Bergman's car. That powder blue kind of fits this old 70s machine very well. That kind of has that sort of late 70s pastels thing going on.
I agree with you. And the other one that I was noticing earlier when we were covering him was new paint from Dylan Freckleton. Not so much purple, but still has the purple, but with a lot more gunmetal this time.
Yeah, exactly. A little bit disappointed because I did love that metallic purple he had, but we'll get some more shots of it, no doubt. Gallus still playing catch-up after starting from the back of the grid, but does look like he's struggling somewhat to keep up with these two. Look at him start to run away.
If you're curious out there, the speed's 170 I'm seeing approaching right about the end of the straightaway here. So these cars certainly capable of a lot more. Tells me the downforce levels, the driver is opting for a little bit more grip because, quite honestly, only the one giant straightaway here.
I'm trying to figure out what the helmet is here for Gallus, because the driver's right looks like it is a Senna homage, but then he split it in half, and I'm not sure who the second half is there. We'll have to ask him if he comes to chat with us, or if somebody in the YouTube chat recognizes, let us know, because I'm not familiar with that one. But interesting idea to split the helmet in half if you have two favorite drivers, I guess.
Hey, you know what? When you take pictures of the car, you can only see one side at a time, right?
Exactly. But Gallus, yeah, still can't quite get close enough here to this group, although it does look like he's a little better through the twisty bit, so maybe he's also got quite a bit of wing in that car as he tries to at least make himself a bit of a concern with that battle for the 13th position. I touched on it earlier. We have 16 out of 17 still running. Alvarez retired the car after his early problems.
Checking back in with our leader, Juan Micosta, setting down another purple fastest lap. That one a 136.795. And really, you look at Antti Lepisto, he's not that far back, a 136.9 that last time by. So even though it's about a second and a half separating first and second on the racetrack, I do feel like Lepisto is at least right there. If Costa makes any sort of issue or problem, it'll be a fight.
It will absolutely be a fight, and Costa knows how to fight. So does Bergman as he gets to the inside of Cam Porter. Does he have the job done, though? He's going to hit the apex. Porter can't quite cut underneath him because of that, and that's going to move the 13 into 13th. Whoa, no. Not anymore.
Yeah, Bergman just lost the rear end of the car coming into what is that turn 2 section. So all of that hard work trying to pass Cam Porter, it's going to have to climb up the mountain again.
I feel like I've done that a lot over my iRacing career. I'm so proud of my pass. My heart's going, and then I miss the marker for the next corner.
It's because you're like, oh man, I'm so much faster. Now that I'm in clean air, look at how much deeper I can go. Doesn't always work out that way. And checking back in on Daniel Gallus back here in the 14th place. It's back on it, trying to chase down Cam Porter. I'm sorry, Daniel Gallus is still on the back of Cam Porter here.
He's caught up a bit of time, I think, because of both of them having to check up for that little bit of a spin there. So that's opened up this battle somewhat. By the way, just an update, Hugh Haycox managed to overtake Zefiris, and he jumps back up into 8th. Now he's got to catch his dad about 2 seconds up the road. There you can see the two of them as Antti Lepisto just set a faster lap than Costa that time. So he's trying to pick up the pace. By the way, I was talking about the success of Costa. He is 9th highest all-time in terms of win, 18 to his name in this series.
Pretty impressive, the talent pool that comes out to these Lotus 79 races. It doesn't matter if it's the F2 or graduating into the F1. You're going to race against some of the best here on iRacing, especially with these downforce machines.
Absolutely, and Zefiris looks like he's having trouble hanging with Hugh Haycox now that, he's made the pass, but no, Hugh does the same thing, and he actually gets hit. He comes to a halt in the middle of the track waiting for an opening to get going. Now he can get the car moving once again. Second mistake of the race, and Zefiris looks like some sort of major damage has brought him to a halt.
Yeah, both of these yellow cars suffering damage from that contact right there, and I can report to you, it's just Hugh Haycox trying to get on the gas a little bit early as we check back in. This is Cam Porter still defending against Daniel Gallus, and it seems like now that Cam doesn't have kind of anybody else to go draft against right now, Daniel Gallus is just all over the back of him.
That's a good point. Yeah, he's been trying to use some help there up in front of him, but he's got none such at this stage as they swing their way down through the last couple corners of the lap. Going to be a long right-hander here. In fact, I think more than 180 degrees on this downhill right-hander, and then more than 180 degrees on Busina as well. Costa taking another fastest lap in the meantime, swapping back and forth with Antti Lepisto up at the front of the field.
Now, you say that, Joe, but let me read off those two times. A 136.619, 136.620.
Wow. Wow.
So, I mean, yeah, it is a difference, but I mean, holy smokes, those two are on another planet up there.
Yeah, they've gapped Kimmo Viekainen by 5.5 seconds now. It's looking difficult for him to try and fight for the win today, but he doesn't really need it at this stage. There you can see him all on his lonesome, maybe just enjoying a nice ride through the Italian countryside.
Hey, you know what? You can't complain about it, right? You still get to collect a podium. And quite honestly, we still have quite a bit of racing left. There's still over half the race left. We haven't ran into any of the lap traffic so far. There can still be lots of problems for anybody out there.
You know, I've been so focused on some of the other drivers here today, we had failed to mention Juho Raina is not here. So that's going to be another drop week for him, which that actually might seal things up. He's just not got enough in his pocket.
Well, and if I remember correctly, last week, Raina had some problems right off of the very get-go. So a couple poor weeks in a row. Definitely not the way you want to close out a championship. Unfortunate to see, for sure.
So the problems for Zefiris and Haycox means that Daniel Gallus is now our biggest mover, up 5 since the beginning, even though he hasn't made this overtake on Cam Porter. Another fastest lap for Juan Costa once again, down into the 36.5s now as we watch Patrick Samaran plunging through the final turn, chasing on Barry West. He's going to weave across the track to try and stay with him. Look at him try and break that toe. Now, the front straightaway actually weaves back and forth on its own a little bit as it is.
Yeah, it does. And you were talking about the biggest mover. Well, Patrick Samaran right here is up 4. So if he gets by Barry West, who's a little bit wide there in turn number 1, just kind of allows Patrick to close that gap ever so slightly more. Patrick can actually jump up there, become our biggest mover if he gets by this red number 9.
And it's been a bit of a quiet race from what we've seen. We haven't checked in on him, and I haven't really noticed him making any crazy moves. So just been coolly and calmly trying to stick out this race and see what he can pick up when it happens. Let's see if he can get one more, give us a bit of a show here as they head down through Casanova and Savelli.
Well, and I think this has kind of been a recovery charge for Barry, too, because if we remember, he was down a few positions at the start. Now, I know that Costas and Hugh have kind of fallen out of the race, but I know that sitting in 8th place right now, Barry West is probably at least happier. We've got a long ways to go to catch Ian Haycox. It's really going to be this fight against Patrick today.
We're approaching the halfway mark of this race as well, so just have to do this all over again, if you will. Meanwhile, Sam Moran, also, you mentioned Sam Ryman trying to stay with him, see if he can make this a bit of a fight. Last lap for him was his personal best at a 38.6. Sam Moran's last lap, 39.1. That's significantly faster.
Yeah, watch them as they come through and cross start-finish this time here. See if Sam Ryman here, the caboose on this trio, still continues to close in on him. Barry West set down a 38.7, Sam Ryman a 38.3. So yes, this car right here, this number 12, very fast.
I'm willing to bet Sam's starting to feel it here. I think he's kind of getting into the rhythm. His pace is picking up. I mean, I said personal best last time, and he smashed that by 0.3 this last lap. So these guys have got to watch out because a confident Sam is going to be a dangerous Sam.
And I know that Sam, he openly speaks about having a higher downforce, right? He likes the confidence. He likes the grip in the car. And if he can catch, looks like we got problems with Cam Porter back here. But I was going to say, if Sam can catch these two cars in front of him and really use the benefit of that slipstream, it's just going to get faster for him.
Yeah, unfortunately, Cam, I think he spun all on his own, maybe just succumbed to the pressure in perhaps one of the most Italian-sounding corners that we've got, Poggio Secco.
I think Arrabbiata sounds pretty Italian too, but
yes.
Let's get the replay here of Cam Porter. Yeah, just a big old tank slapper. He lost it there in the first section of the switchback, and then just huge momentum carried it the other way around.
Yeah, these things rely so much on that downforce. I'm sure when they start to go around, it's difficult to keep it from spinning on him. Back to Sam Moran versus Sam for that 9th position, although it looks like Sam not as close as Patrick is to Barry here. Coming off the final corner, we've been seeing the number 9 car kind of break that toe as best he can, pulling the dragon move down the main straight this time. Only a little bit of weaving out of him, and the 17 reels him in maybe by about half a car length.
Yeah, I see about 3 miles an hour difference between the two cars, but if Sam Moran wants to capitalize on it, I feel like he's going to have to be closer, maybe only about 3 or 4 tenths off of Barry West, but you see him really close it up here in turns number 2 and 3. Feel like he's got a good car underneath him in terms of stability. Maybe Barry West, it has a little bit of a higher downforce setting, but is uncomfortable with the track.
You know, I actually got to do a race recently in the Lotus 49 here. Completely different car, mind you, but I did find that turns 2 and 3 harder than you'd expect just because they come at you so fast.
Well, you also crest the hill right there, so it doesn't seem like a big elevation change. But, Joe, you're right. There's a lot going on between the slower speeds, the elevation, and then just the momentum change between switching back and forth, left and right.
Got Gernot Frische, who has recovered from the slow up that he had to make to avoid Hugh Haycox and has been trying to see if he can retake that spot from Jack David Spickett. He's within about 0.8 of a second now, so he's not quite close enough to do anything from here. But like we've said before, sometimes this is such a psychological game. Hopefully Jack is used to racing against guys like Gernot, but I know if I saw him in my mirror, I'd be kind of, oh no.
I agree, but if I remember correctly, when we saw it the other way around earlier, it seemed like the Pepsi machine of JDS had a little bit more confidence through the twisty bits. Gernot had a really good top-end speed, which, quite honestly, that makes sense. If you're going to win all these races, you know how to set up a car, you know what you need out of the car in order to claim that checkered flag. Usually, it is top speed, but with the rolls the other way around, I'm curious to see who's going to be faster.
Absolutely. If you can be fast in a straight line, it'll make the passes easier if you can stay close enough, and so far he's not been staying close enough. Same thing with Lepisto on Costa here, about 2.5 seconds back now. Juan Mi has just been edging away from that number 2 machine bit by bit. We always talk about the high I rating of drivers. They're both the number 1 and number 2 in P1 and P2, currently at over 6,000 I rating for the pair of them.
I don't think it's anything to jump up and down over, but you were saying that Lepisto's kind of fallen off the back a little, but Kimmo Viekainen has actually closed it in on Lepisto just a little bit. It was about 5, maybe 5.5 seconds, and now it's down to about 4.5 seconds. It's still quite a big gap, but the pace is still there for Kimmo.
Yeah, it's all about the big picture for him. He's probably hoping that if he can continue to cut away, if he can maybe get himself in a position to attack late in the race, it could still be on, but that's a big if for the Raccoon Racing car here today. He always says, I try not to think about the championship, but at what point does he start thinking, I could finally be a champion? It took him a long time to finally get that first win, and now he's been taking multiple wins this season and is on the precipice of claiming a crown. Gernot Frische still at about half a second back from JDS currently as they work their way through the first half of the lap here. Gernot, as Joey pointed out earlier, does look like he is still pretty stable through this portion, and this is where he needs to close up.
Yeah, JDS, his car is just looking a little bit wiggly up there. Maybe he's overheated the tires, or maybe he's just over-driving the car a little bit. You know, some of the best advice I ever got as a racing car driver is sometimes you actually have to drive slower in order to go faster. When you're all up on the wheel, you find yourself missing brake zones, barely missing apexes, and you just need to catch a little bit of a breath every now and then. But it's tough to do when you got Gernot Frische right in your mirrors filling them.
Now I'm watching some of these curbs because, as I said, these are the newer style curbs that they've got on iRacing that are supposed to disrupt the car a little bit. But even these things look to be, I mean, look at how much they're taking them up into the braking zone. So it looks like they're not that big of a problem today.
Oh, but Gernot is very, very close exiting the final turn this time. So he is going to be well within the draft range. JDS trying to defend on the inside as much as he can, but it is not going to help him much. Here comes the number 3 car. He's going to go to driver's left. Is he going to outbrake him into turn number 1? JDS very deep.
And very shallow, though. It'll hold out, but he's going to try and sneak up the inside of turn 2. It is not quite there. It was so close, though. That was smart, but he just didn't have the grip.
And you see him run all the way out to the edge of the track there. JDS I'm talking about. So really trying to run away from Gernot as soon as he's defending him in turn 1 there. So Gernot, a very smart driver. He knows how to make passes. He knows how to get around people. Still got plenty of laps to try to formulate the next charge.
Boy, Patrick has been just laying the pressure onto Barry West here. Look how close he still is to that number 9 machine, but has not been able to overtake and take him yet as they work their way up the hill and then back down the hill towards Casanova here. Very, very fast right-hander, especially in this car. And as they switch back once again, they'll hit the bottom of the circuit and then climb up through the 2 of the Arabiatas. He's sticking with them as long as he can stay close enough onto that main straight. If he could use that toe, maybe he could try and outbrake him into turn 1. Well, or outbrake himself.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's lucky to actually keep it on the racetrack right there, but that's going to fall him right back into the lap of Sam Ryman. So now Sam, an opportunity to go up there and make the pass for 9th place. Patrick Samaran's going to have to regroup himself and either defend from Ryman or get back up there and go charge Barry West again.
Here we go again, side by side into the braking. Gernot Frische forced the long way around. This time, though, he's able to hang tough. He's got the inside for turn 2 into Luco, but fighting right back, JDS is going to fend him off.
Look at that piece of racing from JDS. You gotta love to see it. Gernot Frische, I know that he wants the pass done, but he's smiling too.
He is not intimidated by the multi-time champion whatsoever. He's going to fight him tooth and nail. He's going to have to do it for a number of laps, though. If Gernot can keep getting those runs, then JDS is going to have his hands full.
I love these corners right here, Joe. 135 miles an hour minimum speed as they both dip wheels into the gravel there. They actually both overcharged it. Lucky that they kind of made the same mistake. No track position loss, so JDS continuing to try to run away.
Gernot looks like he's struggling a little bit here. It's many more car lengths between them at this stage, which is great for Jack because he's been under threat the past 2 laps down the main straight. If he could have a chance to relax for once, I'm sure he'll take it.
And there is no kind of hope that these guys are going to go up there and catch Kimmo Viilikainen. They are 8.5 seconds off of that battle for 3rd place. So these two, trust me, they will fight it out.
A decent run out of Gernot, but like I said, he fell so far back this time that it's not going to be a repeat of what we saw before, but he will close in a little bit coming up to the first corner once again. Kimmo Viilikainen continuing to lose more and more to Antti Lepisto himself, now over 7 seconds between P3 and P2. But we watch as Gernot Friese stays within about half a second of JDS. This has definitely been one of the more entertaining battles here late in the race.
And when you fall back that far, it's kind of breaking into that dirty air again as we check back in. This is the battle for what is 8th place, right on board with Sam Ryman. We got Patrick Samaran, the white car, right in the middle of this fight here. Barry West in that lead red and white car trying to defend, and really he's had his hands full, just like how JDS has had his hands full. I mean, Barry West has had to defend for what now, 5-6 laps consecutively?
Yeah, but he's been soaking it up. So, I mean, credit to that number 9. We haven't been watching it the entire time, so we haven't seen if he's been making any mistakes. But apparently none that have allowed Patrick to get through. And bit by bit, Sam Ryman's been trying his best to use that as his chance to close in on this fight.
Kind of like a coyote back here, just nipping at the heels of the number 17, just trying to wait for his opportunity. And you saw that little steering correction at Apex. You got to be careful with these downforce machines not to go bouncing over these curbs. You can damage the underside.
Well, let's hope that Sam Ryman's Coyote does not hit a cliff here and he falls off into the gulch. But Samaran is more focused, I think, on that number 9 than he is on Sam Ryman for the time being. He's been chasing and fighting and clawing to see what he can do there. As we watch Gernot Friese climb the hill, we've been getting a lot of cloud cover in the second half of this race, but it has only cooled it down to about 100 Fahrenheit.
And, you know, credit to Jack David Spickett because it's taken Gernot a couple laps to kind of crawl his way back up here into a passing opportunity. That shows me that JDS has tons of speed out here, and even if Gernot does make a pass, I don't think the fight will be over. I think that JDS wants to hang on to this 4th place position. 140 miles an hour through these climbing right-handers.
We saw this in the real world too when modern F1 came here, that it's a struggle to try and overtake at this track because there's so few slow turns where the drivers get to slam on the brakes. Gernot Friese discovering just how hard that passing is as they come down through Corrientau. Oh, but he overshot it just a bit. I thought he was going to be able to finally get close once again.
He just wasn't able to put the throttle down, but something I've been noticing between these two drivers, I really feel like Jack David Spickett, his kind of weak point in the entire track is the turn 1, 2, 3 complex. So Gernot did a great job to close it up right here. If there's going to be anything, it might not even be in the brake zone here into turn 1, but all the way up through 2 and 3.
Pulling him in, up in front of him. Spickett trying to push that throttle as far down to the floor as it can go. And just a little bit of a look out of Friese, but not able to get side by side with the Pepsi car. Once again, though, he has finally closed the gap. If he can stay this close for the entire lap, he's going to have a much better shot.
And you see just the wag of the tail coming out of the number 8, out of these corner exits. So he's really trying to get on the gas as soon as he can. You just have to make sure not to really burn the rubber off of those rear tires, because if you do that, it is tough to bring them back down into that temperature range where they are happy again.
Ooh, I think Samaran actually had a go at Barry West recently and managed to get side by side, but he wasn't able to make the pass. Oh, and we got another one happening. Gallus versus Bergman. Bergman stays ahead of the 14 car down into turn 1. We're towards the last few laps. I think the heat has been turned up on those who are under pressure.
Well, and if we remember, Bergman kind of made that early mistake. So I think that's him getting by Daniel Gallus, and now has got a long ways up. 10.5 seconds to catch that three-car battle of Sam, Patrick, and Barry that we've been covering.
They fly down through the last few corners once again. I'm watching Freesia. Oh, we might want to go back to that battle for P4 because he is right on top of him now. The number 8 car might actually lose it this time, but we have seen this before. Have either of them learned something from the previous time? A nose ahead into the braking zone. Gernot Freesia sending it as far as the car will go while still sticking. He keeps the overlap slightly. The car once again complains. He tries to get the throttle down, and that will undo the pass attempt.
Gernot Freesia is one of the cleanest competitors out there. Did you see no posturing whatsoever in turn 1? All he's trying to do is make the pass clean. Jack David Spickett left him plenty of room in 1 and on the entry of 2. Great respect here in this community.
Absolutely love it. And oh, that was a big wiggle out of Jack coming down through Savelli. Somehow he keeps the car from going around. But will this maybe offer an opportunity for Gernot to try and make a pass in an unexpected place? No, he falls back.
It's just so tough through that section of the racetrack. The speeds are so high, the brake zones aren't very big, so Gernot, even though that he was right there, just nowhere for him to really capitalize on things, has to continue to chase Jack David Spickett, look for probably that opportunity at the end of the straightaway again.
There was another huge slide coming down through Corrientao there from Gernot. Car just, I think, losing a little bit of grip now. Maybe they've used up too much of these tires. Obviously, they don't run out of rubber in them as much, but they overheat if they work them too hard. Samaran, though, also trying to get a good run out, but he doesn't get the exit.
No, and you see how much that kind of chokes him up a little bit. Now he's got to fight all the way back, but one thing that I have noticed about Barry West's driving style is he slips out a little bit on the exit there. That's going to open the door, but once again, Samaran nowhere to go. Here comes Sam Ryman with a little bit of a momentum charge. Can he make a move into the final corner? No, it's going to be a drag race again.
Patrick going offline has got to be careful. He is opening himself up to Ryman here to maybe make a move if he just sets him up right. And line astern they go once again down the main straight in this fight to settle out 8th position, but nobody's quite close to one another.
It is so tough when the speeds are right there. Samaran looking down the inside, but he's not there to actually make the move on Barry West. So just kind of posturing, filling the mirror, trying to push Barry West off of that racing line, do whatever he can to kind of jostle the confidence.
He's been doing almost everything right, I'd say. There have been a few hiccups there from Patrick here and there, but he just needs to complete the pass if he can manage to get that overlap. Back to Freesia once again, still sticking close as they weave their way through the Biondietti chicane and into Bassine. Let's see what kind of exit he can get. That is the critical part of it for this yellow Coperzukar machine.
He's closer than he ever has been, but Jack David Spickett uses that confidence and that wing angle to kind of scoot away on exit. It's not going to be enough, so here comes Gernot Freesia, 162 miles an hour, and he actually stalls out just a little bit. That's a tactic from Gernot right there. He didn't want to catch him right there. He wants him right in the brake zone. Can he pull off an over-under move? Jack David Spickett, this is still his weak area. Gernot coming up the inside of turn 2. Not this time.
He's tried that a couple times, and it hasn't worked yet. Looks like maybe he's just going to have to send it into that corner at some point and hope that maybe he can take the apex away in time. But Jack, so far, has been confident and denying him that opportunity. Just 2 laps to go next time across the line. Once the leaders hit that one, and I can tell you that Juan Micosta, has he actually lost some time to Lepisto? I think they're closer.
Yeah, it was up about 2.5 seconds, and now it's shrunk down to about 1.7 seconds between the two. But gotta remember, there's only a couple laps remaining, and if I was to kind of guess, these high iRating guys, they like to make a challenge for themselves. I wonder if he's cooling it off for a fast lap.
And that's true. And again, a championship doesn't mean anything, so the extra 2 bonus points for fastest lap won't do much except maybe just kind of put one over on his rivals here today. Lepisto last time by with a 35.4, but Costa with a personal best of a 35.6.
I think it's just going to yo-yo between the two. We'll definitely have to keep an eye on it because only 2 laps remaining, and Lepisto he's right there for sure. So if Costa pops over a curb, makes any sort of mistake, I feel like Lepisto definitely can capitalize as Gernot's going to make another move down here into turn number 1. He's looking for the inside. He knows that he's probably got to figure out a way, but here he goes. He's right tucked up on the left rear of Jack David Spickett. Is he close enough to make a move into turn number 1 or in turn number 2? But once again, JDS just able to carry the momentum.
He's trying to get sneaky. We always talk about how smart of a driver he is, and yeah, he's trying everything he can. Almost looks like he's either trying to force Jack to stay down as shallow as he can into that corner, or just leave him a car's width into the braking zone that he could finally take that inside away.
Well, and it's tough into turn number 2 because Gernot knows at the top of that hill, it all funnels into the left. So if you have a really shallow entry, it just puts you straight into a contact trajectory, which he doesn't want to do.
Back to Patrick now, and still hasn't been able to overtake Barry West. This train has been stuck at this distance for quite some time now that Sam Ryman has caught them. And he's discovering the same thing that the 17 car has, that it is so hard to pass here.
Juan Mi Costa collecting the white flag here, so 1 lap to go. And yes, that gap has continued to come down. You see now it's down to 1.5 seconds between Costa and the second place car of Lepisto.
Even if he isn't going for the fastest lap, he knows that this 1.5-second gap is still handy enough. And we just have not seen a foot wrong between them. Here we go again. Last chance into turn 1 for Gernot Frische. This time he's not playing any games. He goes for as fast as he can down the main straight, coming into the braking zone. Both of them shallow into the corner this time, forcing him down to the bottom, but he can't keep the overlap into 2.
No, is he going to try to do an over-under move? He's able to keep it close, but now JDS now scoots away, so it's going to be tough for Gernot to try to find an area to pass from here on out.
Does he have enough run to be ahead by the finish line? That's another question we haven't entered into our heads yet, because it does go a ways before they cross the finish line.
And I have seen Gernot Frische lift halfway down that straightaway to try to time that run into turn number 1, so maybe you're on to something here.
We'll see. In the meantime, Juan Mi Costa had a pretty straightforward race this time. It's been a bit since we've seen him. Even the other drivers mentioned it in the text chat coming into this race. But Costa shows he's not lost anything since he took a break here from the series. He is going to take yet another win here at Mugello.
Really nicely done from Juan Mi. Antti Lepisto crosses the line in second place here. Kimmo Viilakainen just coming out of the final corner right now will round out your podium, and I can tell you that Jack David Spickett was able to put about 5 car lengths on Gernot. I don't think this straightaway move is going to happen.
No, just way too far behind, unfortunately. But man, credit to Jack. What a defense that entire race. And he can say he's done that against the best of the best. So Jack David Spickett, put a feather in your cap, sir.
100%. I totally agree with you here. And this is that battle. Barry West still holding off Patrick Samaran. And in fact, Sam Ryman is going to have an opportunity into the final corner because Samaran slipped up just a little bit here. Does Sam now look down the inside here? No, he thinks better of it. Can it be that straightaway move?
I think that's what he's trying to set up. He's trying to see if he can get the run, and he's got a pretty good one here. It might not be close enough as they start to pick up speed. West will survive both of them to take 8th. Samaran will be 9th, and Ryman will be 10th. Woo, that was an exciting one, and I don't think it's even over because Grau versus Porter for the last place is still coming around to the last corner. Certainly been giving us some excitement right at the very end of the lap, but it's not enough for Cam.
What a race here at Mugello as the final 2 cross the line. We're going to take a quick break, be right back with your official results and your post-race interviews.
Welcome back here to Mugello. The Lotus 79 Grand Prix, the Sunday Grand Prix Series find themselves with a bit of a calm race up at the front, but a tense one through the rest of the pack. Juan Costa may have won it by 1.2 seconds, but he was pulling away easily, so we think that was him managing the end of the race, letting Antti get that close. It was Kimmo Viekainen who finished third. We're trying to find out if he wrapped up the championship, though, with that finish, as Jack David Spickett had one of the drives of the race for me, fending off Gernot Friesche to take fourth. Gernot was P5 just behind him. Dylan Freckleton took sixth today. Ian Haycox, a gain of 3 to finish P7. And Barry West may have finished where he started, but also had a great defense there, as Patrick Samran was ninth and Sam Ryman rounded out the top 10.
Matthias Bergman going to finish here in the 11th spot. Daniel Gallus, yes, he is our biggest mover to finish in the 12th position. Farron Graubach here in 13th. Cam Porter finishing just behind Farron in that, Farron in 13th, Cam Porter in 14th. And then Kostas Zafiris is going to be the first of the cars that didn't finish today's race. Only was able to complete, 12 laps out here. Hugh Haycox, Antonio Alvarez also did not see the end today.
Just a handful of non-finishers here, as it looks like we've got our winner ready to talk to us. Juan Costa returning from a bit of a break and joining us once again, but clearly has not lost any of the shine. Juan who looks like he'll need to unmute himself really quick here. There we go. Juan, you basically took the pole, started to run away, and then at the end it closed in, but we were kind of expecting you were managing the pace. Is that the case?
No, not at all. I knew Antti has a super pace at the end, and I can match the pace of Antti. He was super fast at the last part of the stint, and I had to make the perfect laps every lap, and not make mistakes. He did a mistake. He lost like a second or so mid race. The thing is what saved me for the win today, I think.
Well, that changes things dramatically. We didn't realize that that was genuinely him catching up to you. Last championship we saw you take was 2023 season 3, so it's been a little bit since we've seen you around. How have things changed, or have they felt like they've changed at all since we've seen you last?
I mean, the last year, no. Well, yes, last season. They changed a little bit the tires. I didn't adapt pretty well at the beginning, so I didn't make any broadcast race or so. So I only make the midweek races, and then my wheel broke. I had to wait a couple months to buy a new one. So I still adapting to a new set.
Ooh, well, this is bad news for everybody else, considering the pace that you showed today. Now that you're back, congratulations. Are we going to see you when we come back next week at Hungary? Then
I like Hungary. I will try to make it if I have the time.
Well, again, excellent race and well run. We look forward to seeing you over in Hungary in a week's time.
Thank you, Joe. Nice to see you.
That was Juan Costa, our winner here today. Third place and not officially champion, from what I've been told, is Kimmo Viekainen. Joey is going to catch up with him.
Well, Kimmo Viekainen, congratulations on another podium here. How did it feel?
Yeah, thanks, guys. It was pretty frustrating race, I think, because the gap just growed in front of me and behind me. So I just tried to manage it and get the car to the finish line. Okay?
Well, I've been there. I get that. Lonely races are oftentimes never fun. But let's look towards the final 2 races of the year then. Hungaroring and Le Mans. Do you want to circle either one of those to try to put up another checkered flag victory that you're going to try to take?
Yeah, of course I'm going to race those and of course trying to win the races. Let's see who comes up and how's my pace versus the other guys.
Well, I know that it was a little bit lonely out there for you, but you still got to be happy with the championship effort so far. I know that even coming from the years past to where you're at now, it looks pretty good with only 2 races remaining. Have you really thought about that at all yet?
Yeah, actually last week I did some maths and Juho needs to win those 2 races to beat me, but I think he said on the Discord that he's not going to participate, but still it's open if he comes up and wants to race.
Well, good luck the last couple weeks here, Kimmo, and congratulations on a podium finish. Thank you so much for coming and racing with us. Anybody you want to say hi to?
Well, thank you for the guys making this broadcast. It's fun to watch along, and also big thanks to community. Without that community, there would not be these races, and I'm enjoying a lot race with these guys.
That was Kimmo Viilakainen, your current points championship leader with only 2 races remaining.
And man that gets another top 10 to his name and has been doing very well for himself this season is Barry West. Barry, I saw that you mentioned in the chat when you were complimented on your defense today, you said 15 years of practice. Has this been your main car since you first joined iRacing?
No, I don't think so. I think I jumped into the Lotus about 2012, and I used to do the Skippy a lot. But I just found there's so much difference between those 2 that I had to concentrate on one. So, keep slipping from one series to another. I kept losing iRating. So, yeah, I decided to try and see what I could do in this one. And I've been stuck with it ever since because it's so much fun.
It kind of took me aback when I thought about it and I realized, oh yeah, this car has been around for about that long here on the sim. So talk about that defense with Patrick. You not only had him, but you had Sam Ryman kind of coming up behind you. I mean, what do you do mentally when you start to find yourself under pressure like that?
Well, it's a confidence thing, isn't it? And I was pretty confident I'd done a few races here this week, and I knew we were very similar in pace. So if anybody got in front, it was going to be difficult to get past them. So I just had to slow up on the corners where I could slow Patrick and Sam up and then make sure I get good exits. And there's a couple I messed up, but I just managed to, I think towards the end, I forced Sam around the outside of turn 1, and I knew the inside was quicker if I kept the power in, and I managed to keep the power in and had grip. So yeah. But I was faster, I think, in the sweepers, the fast left-right sweepers. But then in the slower corners, I think they were a bit quicker. So, yeah, it was a very good race. I was absolutely exhausted after that. I don't know how many laps it was, but yeah, I thought I'm not going to fight Costa after he got me at the start. And fortunately, I didn't, because I think somebody did fight him and came to grief. But yeah, it's intense race, intense. And me and Patrick got such a lot of respect for each other. So yeah, good race.
It certainly looked intense, and it was unfortunately Hugh Haycox that wound up coming together with Costas, taking one another out. We've been very complimentary of your progress as of late, and it's to me it's very encouraging, because I love seeing those feel-good stories of drivers that we saw maybe towards the back of the pack or down in the mid-pack suddenly rise towards the front, and seeing you 5th in the championship. What does that do to you mentally in this series? Does that encourage you?
Well, yeah, I mean, it was quite frustrating the last couple of years, because I used to race with Dan Banker quite regularly, and used to be quicker, and now he's moved on, and I think, what have they done? And Tim as well, Tim Reed, and yeah, everybody seems to be going past me. And this season, I don't know, it's just all come together, and I just concentrate on not making the mistakes, and yeah, not doing stupid moves, and it seems to be paying off. I feel a lot more comfy in the car, and I can feel the slide and feel the where it's got grip and where it hadn't. I think that's what it's all about, setting the rig up right. And yeah, I mean, I've never had this high an iRating. I've been, I think I was about 3,700 now, and I've never been that high. In fact, I think I won the F2 championship, didn't I? So about 2 seasons ago, and that was below like 2,000. So yeah, it's coming together now nicely.
It looks like it, and I'd say it's well deserved and earned, sir. Excellent run race today, and hopefully we'll talk to you over in the Hungaro ring.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. Cheers.
Barry West, who finished 8th out there. And that is going to wrap us up with a big thank you, of course, to the Lotus 79 community for bringing us back for another season of coverage for the Sunday Grand Prix Series, as well as a thank you to the team today, Joey, Daniel, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media, our website, and our merchandise store, but also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. As we mentioned, the next race at Hungary will be Sunday, February 25th at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. But be sure to check out our other broadcasts that we have listed here, because up next, the Rolling Thunder Racing Series goes to Kentucky Speedway. That's my local track. That'll be at 8:15 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, though, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.